Super spotty. Chloe Garfield. Hypothesis. The greatest heroism can come from the last place you'd ever think to look for it. Or maybe it wasn't a real hypothesis, since it had already been proven right here in Hardcastle. Noah Euchylus had thrown himself into a runaway truck and steered it away from a fiery collision with the house in his path. No one could talk of anything else. It was the kind of amazing story that happened in some other town, but not yours. Even more amazing, the super kid who performed the miracle was one of us. Sure, the gifted students won spelling bees, science fairs, and summer internships. That happened all the time. But here was proof that we could be more than good grades and high test scores. We weren't just the kids you'd go to when you needed homework help or someone to get that nasty virus off your laptop. We could make a difference. We could be heroes. The best part was that it was Noah. The super kid turned out to be a super gifted kid, and exactly the strengths that made him gifted: a nimble mind, an understanding of science, an ability to analyze a variety of factors, and instantly decide on a course of action had saved the day. Those strengths were our strengths. He might have been the hero, but his triumph counted for us all. You bet we were proud of him. Of course, Noah didn't attend the academy anymore, even though that he was smarter than all of us put together. But he had been on the gifted track with us most of the way, and he still came 3 afternoons for robotics, him and Donovan. No question he was ours. So when we heard the news, it was a big deal. We celebrated like it was someone from our own class. We planned a little reception for him in the robotics lab on the first visit after the announcement. We hung streamers from the multicolored wires suspended like cobwebs from the ceiling, and we programmed our robot, Heavy Metal, to cross the room, stop in front of Noah, raise a sign that read, "Congratulations, Super Kid." Everyone started peppering Noah with questions about his heroic moment. Noah responded in a very Noah-esque way. A lot about the properties of propane, the effects of gravity versus inertia on a vehicle stopped on a slope, and Archimedes' principles of buoyancy as applied to a tanker truck in a swimming pool. You know, easy stuff we'd all understood since elementary school. "Okay, people, I've got a surprise for you," Oz announced. Noah did an interview with the Russ Trussman Hour yesterday, and it's broadcasting in about 2 minutes. Take a seat, everybody. Let's watch our star in action. We scrambled to our desks, and the teacher turned on the flat screen at the front of the lab. Russ Trussman ran an interview show that had been on the air since our parents were our age. It was proof that Noah's story was spreading beyond Hardcastle. The Russ Trussman Hour was out of one of our network affiliate in a few towns over, and around here it was huge. Everybody watched Russ Trussman. Well, all the adults anyway. We applauded the sight of Noah sitting on the couch that had hosted so many movie stars, sports heroes, and presidential candidates. And there was the host chair was Trussman himself. The perfect teeth and the perfect tan, the store-bought nose, the perfect hair, also probably store-bought. Hypothesis. The more famous you are, the fewer original body parts you have. "I can't believe Noah's on Russ Trussman," exclaimed JC, who was normally the quietest kid in the academy. No one was immune to super kid mania. The host asked Noah pretty much the same questions we had and got pretty much the same answers. Noah seemed a little stiffer than usual, but on the whole was fairly poised. After all, it had to be nerve-wracking to have TV cameras pointed at you. The studio audience cheered at every single statement he made, even when he answered, "How old are you?" with a 13 years, 2 months, 11 days, 6 hours, and 2.7 minutes, subject to Einstein's theory of general relativity, of course. Or maybe they thought he was kidding. The screen showed video of an enormous crane winching the propane tank out of the mercury pool, while Noah recited the formula for determining how much lifting power was required. Surprisingly, the pool was undamaged and was ready for use as soon as the fence around it could be repaired. "How do you think that folding chair got into the water with the truck?" Trussman asked him. Noah looked startled. "Folding chair?" Trussman frowned. "Didn't you see it? It was the only thing in the pool besides the tanker. Maybe it was the Mercuries. No, I asked them, Trussman replied. They had absolutely no idea where it came from. Well, neither do I, Noah told him. The host looked into the camera. It seems we have a mystery on our hands. If any of our viewers can cast some light on where the mysterious chair came from, please call us at the studio. In a moment, we'll ask our super kid about his sky-high IQ and whether his superior intelligence helped him make the split-second decision to save the home and probably the 4 lives inside it. As we watched the rest of the interview, I was distracted by the peculiar look on Noah's face when Trussman had asked him about the chair. It set off bells inside my head. Not the chair itself. I had no explanation for that, but the whole story sounded... It was hard to say, but what it didn't sound like was Noah. How could that be, though? Hypothesis. Sometimes a gut feeling carries more weight than so-called facts. Not that Noah wasn't a good person. Of course he'd want to help a family in danger. He might even try. But by the time he'd been done analyzing the situation, the fire from the explosion would have burned the house to the ground. I tried to shake the thought out of my head. Why was I obsessing over this? Finally, the hero was one of us. I needed him to be real. But the more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that Noah, I knew, could never have done what he was now so famous for doing. When the interview ended, we all applauded, even me, but my mind was whirling. The whole thing didn't make sense. As a scientist, I wasn't a fan of things that didn't make sense. Oz turned the TV. Congratulations, Noah. You were terrific. Now let's get some work done. Heavy Metal's pretty smart, but he's not going to program his own software. As the rest of the team gathered around the robot, Donovan and I brought up the rear. I watched as Noah tripped over a cable, and only Oz's steady hand kept him from face-planting on the floor. I grabbed Donovan's wrist. It wasn't him, I whispered. Huh? The super kid. It couldn't have been Noah. But it generally seemed to throw him. But everybody says it was him, the mayor, the police chief, even Russ Trussman. I get that, I told him, but it's just not possible. Listen, I love Noah. I'd never put him down. It's not that... Looking miserable, Donovan glanced away from me to the opposite corner of the room and murmured, You have to promise not to tell anyone. This brought me up short. What? What are you talking about? He leaned in and whispered, It was me. What was you? What he told me shocked me down to my toes, that he, not Noah, was a super kid, that he'd only been in the neighborhood to help Noah from tangling with a bully named Hashtag. What kind of a name was Hashtag? And by colossal logic, I couldn't tell anybody about it because it would result in Beatrice being impounded by animal control and declared vicious. The more details he filled in, the nuttier it became. I glared at him. Where do you get off making up a story like that? But it's true, he pleaded. I sort of accept it from Noah because he's, well, Noah, but you, I thought you were friends. Look, he reasoned, you figured out it couldn't be Noah, but it had to be somebody, right? Not necessarily, I pointed out. Maybe the truck changed directions when it thumped over the curb, so it missed the house and went into the pool. The simplest explanation for something is usually the correct one. The driver saw my legs sticking out of the window, he hissed in protest. Eyewitnesses can be undependable, I retorted. When the tanker swerved, the driver assumed someone must have done it, and his mind filled in the rest. You two ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Did you and Noah cook this up to help him make a splash at Hardcastle? Of course not, he countered. If Noah wanted to be special, all he'd have to do is take an IQ test. The last thing he's looking to do is stand out. At that moment, Noah announced, Our lacrosse team is on a winning streak because of me. I hope I can have the same effect on robotics. I shot Donovan a grimace and joined the others around Heavy Metal. Hey, I admired Donovan a lot. I'd be the first in the gifted program to appreciate what he had to offer. But what had made him so unique at the academy was that he brought out an outside point of view that none of the rest of us had. He wasn't gifted. He was just normal. Noah, on the other hand, was the opposite of normal. I'd worried what happened to him in regular school, and now my worst fears were coming true. Once outside the academic atmosphere of the gifted program, he'd started craving the thrill of popularity. And Donovan had cooked up this cockamamie scheme to give it to him. Well, maybe Donovan thought he was doing Noah a favor, but this could only end one way, with the super kid exposed as a fraud. Why was I so surprised? Donovan's time in the academy had been spent this way, always scrambling, a half a step ahead of a disaster. Hypothesis: a leopard never changes its spots. By the time he was taking poor Noah along for the ride,